All right, so here we go. We're now going to look at adding or subtracting fractions where you do not have common denominators. So let's do a brief review on if you have fractions that have common denominators. So right here we have 1/4 plus 2/4. When adding fractions with common denominators, you are going to add your top number, so we get 3, but you are not going to add your denominators, so we're going to get 3/4. So if we look at a visual of that real fast, I have 1/4, and I'm going to add to that 2 more fourths. I have 3/4, not 3/8, which is what you would get if you added your denominators. Okay, so today in class, you guys are looking at what happens if you are adding and subtracting rational numbers, which are fractions and decimals, but also include the negative versions of that. So if you know your negative rules from chapter 1, and you know how to add and subtract fractions, as taught in 6th grade, then this unit should be not easy, but straightforward. So let's say we're doing the fractions 1/8 plus 3/4. Okay, I can't add these together because my denominators are not the same. Again, we can look at this visually. So here's an 1/8. And here are my fourths. So 1, 2, 3. I can't just add those together and say that I have 4/12 by adding my numerator and my denominator, because I don't have 4/12. But essentially what I do have, if I carry this one over here, I have 7/8. So let's look at that with pictorial, or with the simple version. In order for me to add, my denominators have to be the same, and as of right now, they are not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the least common multiple. And in this situation, the least common multiple is 8. So 1/8 is going to stay the same. Notice the amount of work that I am showing here. Okay, so to get from fourths to eighths, I'm going to multiply both my top and my bottom by 2. If you forget to multiply your numerator, then your fractions are no longer equivalent, and you've changed the entire problem. So now we have 6/8. Now we're back to what we talked about before. My denominators are the same, so I leave them the same, and I have 7/8. Okay, let's do another example. Perhaps something a little bit more difficult, like 1/3 plus 1/4. This one's a little bit more difficult because neither of these numbers are the least common multiple. So 3 is not the least common multiple, and 4 is not the least common multiple. So one way to do this is to just start listing multiples. So 6, 9, 12, 8, 12, and when you find 1, that's the least common multiple. Another trick that some people use is they just multiply the two denominators to find their least common multiple, which in this situation works. 4 times 3 does give you 12. That strategy will always work to give you a multiple, but sometimes it's not the least common multiple. That's all right. That just means you might have some more reducing to do at the end. Okay, so my denominator is going to be 12, so I'm going to multiply this guy by 4. Don't forget to multiply your numerator by 4. The way I know it's 4 is because 3 times 4 would give me 12. If you ever have trouble figuring that out, then we can just count 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, over here, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to multiply by 3, top and bottom. So my new problem is now 4/12, which you should notice is equivalent to 1/3 if I reduce this, plus 3/12, again, equivalent to 1/4 if I reduced. So when I add them together, I get 7/12. And again, we could do this visually. We could draw pictures of our rectangles or our pie graphs, and we could look at why this is true. And some of you guys, if we're having trouble with the steps, that may be a requirement of yours. But for now, you have this video to look back on. If you are struggling with the process of finding common denominators, please rewind, rewatch, come back to this as many times as you guys need before you feel comfortable with this. Again, this is a 6th grade standard. I'll help as much in class as I can, but we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. So please come see me during homeroom, before school, after school, lunch, as much as you guys need to master this skill.